Stop scrolling. You have spent weeks watching videos about envy, about the 7 signs, about the people who downplay your success and smile at your failures, and you have been looking in the wrong direction. You have been watching your co-workers, your distant cousins, your old friends from high school. But here is the truth that psychology has known for decades. The person who envies you the most is not the one who lives far away. It is not the one who barely knows you. It is the one who sits across from you at dinner, the one whose name is on your lease, the one you have already forgiven 100 times for things you could never quite explain. Today, you find out who and what to do when the closest envy is the one you never saw coming. Before we name them, let me ask you something honest. When you think of envy, who comes to mind? A co-worker who seemed cold after your promotion, a friend who went quiet on social media, a sibling who always made competitive comments at holidays. That is what most people think. Distant envy, safe envy, the kind you can blame without guilt. But here is what the research actually says. A landmark study on social comparison and envy found that people report the most intense feelings of envy not towards strangers or acquaintances, not towards celebrities or online influencers, toward what researchers call close same-sex friends and siblings. People who share your world, people who measure themselves against you daily, people whose lives are close enough to yours that your success feels like their failure. Carl Jung understood this without a single study. He wrote about the shadow that lives closest to the light. He said, "The meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But he did not say what happens when one personality secretly resents the transformation of the other. That is what we are walking through today. The closest envy. The one that sleeps under your roof or calls you every night. The one you would never suspect because you love them. And that love is exactly why you have been blind. Let me give you the numbers so you know this is not paranoia. It is data. A widely cited study on envy in social psychology found that when people were asked to recall their most intense experience of envy, nearly 60% named a close friend or family member, not a rival, not an enemy, a friend, a sibling, a parent, a partner. The people they said, "I love you too." Another study on benign versus malicious envy found that malicious envy, the kind that wants you to lose, not just to gain, is almost always directed at people in the same social circle. Why? Because strangers are not threats. Your success does not illuminate their lack unless they see themselves in you. And no one sees themselves in you more than the person who has walked the same hallways, applied for the same jobs, raised children in the same neighborhood, or shared the same parents. Nietzsche wrote, "Love is the state in which man sees things most widely different from what they are." He meant that love blinds us. It makes us generous with interpretation. When a stranger is cold, we say they are rude. When a friend is cold, we say they are tired. When a partner dismisses our success, we say they are stressed. We protect them with explanations we would never give to an outsider. And that protection is exactly what closest envy needs to survive. It hides in your love. It feeds on your forgiveness. And it grows stronger every time you say, "They didn't mean it." The first candidate, the sibling who never celebrated you. Let us name the first candidate. You have felt this one your whole life, but never said it out loud. A sibling, not all siblings, but one sibling. The one who always seemed to be in a quiet competition you never agreed to join. You got a good grade. They said, "The teacher likes you better." You got a job. They said, "Must be nice to have connections." You bought a house. They said, "I hope you can afford the payments." You lost weight. They said, "You looked fine before, but okay." Listen to the pattern. They never say, "I envy you." They say things that sound like concern but feel like rain. And because they are family, you swallow it. You tell yourself they are just worried. They are just honest. They are just keeping you grounded. But here is what Jung would ask you. Why do you need grounding only when you rise? Why does their honesty only appear when you have something to celebrate? Research on sibling dynamics shows that sibling envy is one of the most persistent forms of social comparison because siblings share the most relevant comparison group. Same parents, same upbringing, same expectations. So when you succeed, the unspoken question in their mind is not, how wonderful for them. It is, why not me? And that question is the birthplace of closest envy. This does not mean your sibling is evil. It means they are human. But humans who cannot celebrate you do not deserve a front row seat to your life. You do not need to cut them off. But you do need to stop expecting their applause. That expectation is the hook that keeps you attached to their approval. Cut the hook, not the relationship. The second candidate, the best friend who keeps a scorecard. The second candidate is even harder to see because you chose them. A best friend, not all best friends, but some. The one who keeps a quiet scorecard. You got a new car? They mention their car is paid off. You got a promotion? They mention they turned down a promotion because money isn't everything. You started a business? They mention how many small businesses fail. They are not celebrating. They are adjusting the score. Every time you gain a point, they remind you of a point they already have, or they find a reason why your point does not count. Let me give you a real example you might recognize. You tell your best friend about a vacation you booked. You are excited. They say, "Oh, that place. I went there 3 years ago. It was okay." Overpriced. You feel deflated. You were not asking for a review. You were sharing joy. But they could not let you have the joy without reminding you that they had it first. That is the scorecard. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." But here is the nuance. You cannot reject the injury if you do not even see it. And closest envy specializes in invisible injuries, paper cuts, small deflations, little moments where your balloon loses air. Over 10 years, those small deflations add up to a life where you stopped sharing your joy. Not because you decided to, because you got tired of the scorecard. Here is the question you must ask yourself. Does this friend leave you feeling lighter or heavier? If you cannot answer, watch their face next time you share good news. If they smile fully, without a follow-up about themselves, you are safe. If they smile and then immediately remind you of something they have or something you lack, you are looking at closest envy wearing a best friend's face. The third candidate, the parent who sees you as an extension of themselves. The third candidate is the most painful to name because it challenges everything you were taught about love. A parent. Not all parents, but some parents. The ones who see your success not as yours but as theirs, and your failure not as yours but as an embarrassment to them. This is not simple envy. This is what Jung called the participation mystique, a primitive identification where one person cannot tell where they end and you begin. Here is what this looks like. You achieve something, a degree, a career milestone, a creative work. And instead of celebrating you, they say, "I always knew you had it in you. You get it from me." They take credit, not cruelly, but consistently. Or worse, you achieve something they never could, and their face shows something strange. Not pride, discomfort, a tightness, a silence. Then they change the subject. Let me give you a story. You buy your first home. You are 30 years old. You saved for a decade. You call your parent to share the news. There is a pause. Then they say, "That's nice. The market is crazy right now. I hope you didn't overpay." No congratulations. No joy. Just a damp towel thrown over your fire. You feel confused. You were not asking for money. You were asking for a witness to your life, and they could not provide it, because your achievement reminded them of what they never did. Research on parental envy is rarely discussed because it is taboo, but studies on family dynamics show that parents who have unresolved regrets about their own lives often experience what researchers call vicarious resentment toward children who succeed where they failed. They do not hate you, they hate the mirror you hold up. And because they cannot hate the mirror, they distance themselves from your joy. Watch for the parent who is always proud of you in private but strangely quiet in public, or proud of you for things they already understand, but silent when you do something they never could. That silence is not love. It is closest envy in a parent's chair. The fourth candidate, the romantic partner who competes in secret. The fourth candidate is the one that keeps therapists employed, a romantic partner, the person you share a bed with, the person you tell your secrets to, the person who is supposed to be your soft landing, but some partners do not land softly. They compete, silently, secretly, sometimes without even knowing they are doing it. Here is what this looks like. You get a raise. They say, "That's great. I should ask my boss for one too. I work just as hard." You lose weight. They say, "I've been meaning to get back to the gym." You finish a creative project. They say, "I wish I had time for hobbies." Every success of yours becomes a reminder of something they are not doing. And instead of celebrating you, they make your joy about their lack. This is not always malicious. Sometimes it is insecurity. But insecurity does not make it harmless. Research on romantic envy shows that partners who consistently compare themselves to you, your income, your appearance, your social life, report lower relationship satisfaction over time. And here is the cruel irony. Your success does not threaten the relationship. Their response to your success does. But they will blame your success. You will blame yourself. And no one will name the real problem. Closest envy, sleeping on the other side of the bed. Let me give you a test you can use tonight. Share something good that happened today. Just one thing. Watch their face. Watch their first words. If they say, "That's amazing, tell me more," you are safe. If they say, "That's nice, I had a rough day," or immediately pivot to their own life, you have just seen closest envy. It does not mean the relationship is over. It means you have been giving your joy to someone who has no room for it. And that is a lonely way to live. Let me explain why closest envy cuts deeper than any other. When a stranger envies you, you feel nothing. When a co-worker envies you, you feel annoyed. But when a sibling, a best friend, a parent or a partner envies you, you feel something much worse. You feel betrayed, and the betrayal is not that they want what you have. The betrayal is that they would rather see you lose than see themselves grow. Carl Jung wrote, "The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. The shadow is the part of ourselves we refuse to see. For most people, the shadow contains their envy. They do not want to be envious, so they hide it, they bury it, and then it leaks out in small ways. A downplaying comment here, a cold shoulder there, a change of subject when you shine. They are not evil, they are unconscious, but unconscious does not mean harmless. Here is the hardest truth in this entire video. The person who envies you most may love you, genuinely love you, and also envy you. Both can be true. The human heart is not a single note. It is a messy chord. Love and envy can live in the same chest. But here is what you must understand. Their love does not obligate you to absorb their envy. You can love them and still protect yourself. You can forgive them and still stop telling them your good news. You can hold both truths at once. That is not hypocrisy, that is wisdom. You have 4 candidates now: a sibling, a best friend, a parent, a partner. You may have recognized one. You may have recognized more than one. But how do you know for sure? You do not need a confession. You need a test. Here is the test. Stop sharing your wins with that person. Just for 30 days. Do not announce it. Do not make a point. Just quietly stop telling them about your promotions, your purchases, your achievements, your happy moments. Share the neutral things, the weather, the traffic, what you ate for dinner, but not your joy, and watch what happens. If they do not notice, or if they seem relieved, you have your answer. They were not sustaining you. They were tolerating you. If they notice and ask, "You haven't told me anything good lately," you have a different kind of answer. Now you know they were paying attention. But for what purpose? To celebrate or to compare? Their tone will tell you. If they ask with genuine warmth, you may have been wrong. If they ask with suspicion or irritation, they miss their chance to adjust the scorecard. That is your confirmation. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But I would add this: the quality of your thoughts depends on who you allow to sit in the room with them. Closest envy does not need to be confronted. It needs to be starved. Starve it of your joy. Give your joy to people who can hold it without burning their fingers. That is not betrayal of the envious person. That is protection of your own soul. So what do you actually do? You do not need to cut anyone off. You do not need a dramatic confrontation. You do not need to send a long text explaining how you feel. Drama feeds envy. Silence starves it. Here are 3 practical steps. First, change what you share, not how you love. You can love your sibling, your friend, your parent, your partner, and still not give them the keys to your inner world. Share your struggles. Share your neutral days. But share your victories with people who have earned the right to hear them. That is not secrecy. That is stewardship. Second, stop asking for their approval. This is the hardest step because we want the people closest to us to be proud. But if they have shown you again and again that your success makes them uncomfortable, you are asking for water from an empty well. The well is not evil. It is just dry. Stop asking. Find new wells. Third, watch for reciprocity. A healthy relationship is not about equal success. It is about equal celebration. You do not need to have the same income or the same achievements. You need to be able to say, "I am happy for you," without adding a but. If the person closest to you cannot do that, they are not your enemy, but they are not your safe harbor either, and you deserve a safe harbor. Let me end with something that might surprise you. Closest envy is painful, but it also reveals something important about you. It means you have something worth envying. It means you have grown, you have changed, you have moved ahead in ways that are visible to the people who know you best. That is not a curse. That is a mirror. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Becoming who you truly are will cost you some relationships. Not because you are mean, because you are no longer small enough to fit into their comfort zone. That loss is not failure. It is the admission price for your own life. So here is your final question. Not who envies me, but am I willing to be envied? Because if you are not willing, you will shrink, you will hide your wins, you will apologize for your success, and the closest envy will have won without ever saying a word. Do not let that happen. Let them feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not your problem. It is their invitation to grow. And if they refuse, that is their choice. But you have your own life to live, and you cannot live it sideways, watching to see if they are watching you. You now know the 4 candidates for closest envy: a sibling, a best friend, a parent, a partner, One of them may have surfaced while you listened. Do not confront them today. Just notice. Noticing is the first step. The second step is next week's video. Click on the screen now. Watch why you feel drained after certain conversations. The psychology of emotional extraction. Because the closest envy is not the only hidden drain in your life. Some people do not envy you. They just extract you, and you will learn to see the difference. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing what others miss. The door is open, but now you know who is standing closest to it.